Hey there guys, this is Richard, your host, with another marvelous video, the God of all evil. In the vast omniverse of DC Comics, every universe has echoed the presence of a supreme antagonist, a colossal being whose essence defies human descriptions. This entity, with a persona beyond comprehension, has consistently demonstrated power and magnificence and eclipsed the hope in the hearts of heroes and gods alike. The mere mention of this adversary's name is enough to send shivers down their spines. Over time, our heroes and the new gods have joined forces to safeguard the world from this malevolent force, preventing its potential decimation. Curious to know who this darkness incarnate is within the mainstream DC universe? Eager to discover the nightmare that haunts the entire Earth and its defenders? Well, the answer has always been the same. Darkseid is. In today's video, we embark on a profound exploration of the expansive lore surrounding Darkseid, the malevolent lord of Apokolips. So, without further delay, let's fly, my parademons, to Apokolips for Darkseid. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin.
You'll find my work throughout the years.
The man behind the scenes. The legendary creator Jack the King Kirby initially contributed to Atlas Comics, which later evolved into Marvel Comics. During his tenure, he crafted iconic characters like the Hulk, Black Panther, Silver Surfer, Fantastic Four, X-Men, Iron Man, Thor, Ant-Man, and more. Characters that have withstood the test of time, forming the bedrock of Marvel's mythology. Kirby's creative genius then led him to join Marvel's rival, DC Comics. Undeterred, Kirby continued his trailblazing work at DC, giving birth to the Fourth World Saga, a realm teeming with gods, monsters, and their enthralling adventures. The saga introduced Darkseid, a new god who made his debut in Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen issue number 134, dated December 1970. In this gripping narrative, Superman detected the impending arrival of a god of intergalactic proportions set on invading everything in his path. With a face modeled after actor Jack Palance and drawing inspiration from the infamous Adolf Hitler, Darkseid was featured as the dictator of the doomed planet Apokolips. Despite the Fourth World meta-series not garnering widespread acclaim and facing cancellation, Darkseid endured as one of the most dreaded villains in the DC universe.
No one questions me, Darkseid.
Birth of the Fourth World. Once in a world where the old gods thrived, bantered, fought, and waged wars among themselves. However, the relentless march of time took its toll, causing the world to crumble. Ragnarok, the cataclysmic event, shattered the planet of the old gods, scattering divine energy across space and time. All the old gods perished, leaving two fragments suspended in space, side by side, awaiting the dawn of new life. As life gradually unfolded on the twin planets, giving rise to evolution, the new gods emerged. One of these planets blossomed into New Genesis, home to benevolent and noble deities. Guided by the wise leader and daunting warrior Isaiah, New Genesis became a living embodiment of goodness, akin to heaven. The other planet birthed malevolent gods and monsters, eventually earning the ominous title of Apokolips. Ruled by the cruel deities Uxas and Hegra, Apokolips epitomized everything nefarious, resembling a hellish realm. Ever since, Apokolips and New Genesis have been locked in unending wars and battles, a cosmic struggle between good and evil. Who is Darkseid and how he came to be? In the murky realm of Apokolips, Uxas and Hegra welcomed two sons into their chaotic world, Drax and the cunning prince Uxas. Uxas, driven by a thirst for supremacy, sought to harness the power of the Source, an ethereal force that bestowed extraordinary abilities upon gods and superheroes in the vast DC universe. However, his ambitious quest ended in incarceration within the unbreakable confines of the Source Wall. Amidst the situation of his father's downfall, Drax, the elder son, found himself destined to assume the mantle of Apokolips' future ruler. However, Uxas, the shrewd and ambitious prince, harbored a burning desire to seize the Apokolips throne for himself. Both princes fixated on acquiring the fabled Omega Force from the Source, the otherworldly power promising godlike ascendancy. Within the burning depths of the Infinity Pit, a sinister showdown took place. As Drax pursued the coveted Omega Force, Uxas, driven by ruthless cunning, brutally killed his brother and absorbed the godly energy. The transformation that followed turned the skin of Uxas into stone, endowing him with unprecedented power as he became the living embodiment of the Omega effect. Assuming the ominous mantle of Darkseid, he ruthlessly asserted his dominance over Apokolips, initiating a seismic shift in the power dynamics of this bloodthirsty realm. However, Uxas' transformation into Darkseid was not yet complete. He still had a shard of humanity left in him, in his heart, but when it was broken, all hell broke loose. The heart of a god. Imagine facing a monstrous evil god made of unbreakable stone. What could possibly defeat such a powerful being? Surprisingly, the answer is love. Even the mighty and stone-hearted Darkseid was once softened by the transformative power of love. His heart began to thaw when he formed a connection with Suli, a sorceress and scientist from Apokolips. Together, they welcomed their first child, Kali, back. However, Darkseid's love story took a tragic turn. Queen Hegra, unable to bear the sight of her son growing softer due to his affection for Suli, ordered her poisoning by Darkseid's follower, Darkseid. Devastated by this loss, Darkseid's heart turned cold. Seeking solace, he married Tigra and had another child named Orion. Upon discovering Hegra's role in Suli's murder, Darkseid was consumed by rage. He took matters into his own hands, poisoning Hegra with the assistance of Darkseid. In the end, when there was no one left to challenge him, he rose to the throne of Apokolips as the monarch supreme.
Your new lord and master. You may call me Darkseid.
The Pact. In days of old, Darkseid cunningly plunged Apokolips into war by orchestrating his uncle Steppenwolf to murder Avia, the wife of Isaiah. This heart-wrenching act sparked a devastating conflict between the realms of New Genesis and Apokolips. Amid the chaos, Metron of New Genesis struck a deal with Darkseid, creating the Boom Tube in exchange for the X-Element to power his Mobius chair. This technological advantage allowed Darkseid to deploy troops and weapons at will on New Genesis. However, Isaiah's forces wreaked havoc on Apokolips too. As both worlds grappled on the brink of annihilation, Isaiah sought a path beyond ceaseless war. Discarding his armor, he stood in front of the Source Wall and was touched by it. From that day forward, Isaiah embraced a life of peace and became Highfather. He advocated for an end to the open hostilities between New Genesis and Apokolips. To solidify their commitment to peace, Highfather and Darkseid made a pact. As a symbolic gesture, they exchanged their young sons. Darkseid sent Orion to be raised by Highfather on New Genesis, while Isaiah sent his son to be raised by Darkseid on Apokolips. Darkseid entrusted Highfather's son to Granny Goodness, who named him Scot-Free, promising to subject him to torment on Apokolips. On the other hand, Orion approached Highfather with a murderous intent, but was instantly changed by the goodness of Highfather. The treaty broken. According to the ancient Fourth World prophecy, Darkseid's ultimate defeat was destined to unfold in a cataclysmic battle within the fiery Armageddon of Apokolips, with Orion as the prophesied victor. Darkseid's heart was already heavy with this thought. Meanwhile, Darkseid's attempts, alongside his trainer Granny Goodness, to break Scot-Free's spirit proved futile. Despite enduring a grueling upbringing, Scot-Free managed to escape Apokolips, taking with him Big Barda, the mightiest of the female Furies, as his wife. Renamed Mr. Miracle, Scot-Free and Barda settled on Earth. Darkseid seized this as a betrayal, providing a pretext to annul the treaty with New Genesis, reigniting the conflict between the two planets. Darkseid's grand objective was to strip the universe of free will, aiming to replace the presence of the DC Comics as the supreme being. His demeanor grew colder towards those around him. When Darkseid came in contact with Martians, he discovered that their anatomy was based on the concept of free will. It was free will that gave the Martians their powers. This freedom of mind was dubbed as life equation. Darkseid deduced that there must also exist a counter-equation that's able to take away free will. That ignited his interest in the anti-life, and he's been on the quest ever since. Darkseid's focus shifted towards our Earth, as he believed that the collective human mind contained most, if not all, fragments of the elusive anti-life equation. The first encounter. In a daring quest, 4 young heroes from New Genesis, Big Bear, Mark Moonrider, Serifan, and Viking the Black, traveled through a boom tube to Earth to rescue Beautiful Dreamer, who had been kidnapped by Darkseid in order to solve the anti-life equation. The news of their existence and their haven, Supertown, piqued Superman's interest. Longing for a community of equals, he sought them out to discover the location of Supertown. Upon finding them, Darkseid's dangerous Gravi-Guards confronted them, wielding gravity-warping powers surpassing even Superman's strength. In a moment of unity, the 4 youths combined their powers to summon the Infinity Man, who used his might to defeat the Gravi-Guards. Darkseid let go of the Beautiful Dreamer. He knew other ways of solving the anti-life equation. Superman, with his super speed, swiftly rescued her from harm. With the danger averted, the Infinity Man vanished and the 4 Forever People reappeared. Superman, intrigued, asked to be shown the way to Supertown. Though reluctant, they opened a boom tube for him, urging him to stay and aid in their fight against Darkseid. However, mid-journey, Superman realized he couldn't abandon mankind to face Darkseid alone. He turned back to Earth, catching a fleeting glimpse of New Genesis, torn between 2 worlds.
The anti-life equation.
Hunt for anti-life. Darkseid, with sinister intent, released his power parasite Mantis upon Metropolis. In response, the Forever People joined forces, transforming into the Infinity Man to confront the threat of Mantis. However, Mantis had already begun siphoning raw fear from the people of Earth. Meanwhile, Darkseid seized the opportunity to extract the waves of fear and identify the mind holding the coveted anti-life equation for Darkseid. Despite the challenges, the Infinity Man successfully repelled Mantis, who slithered back to Darkseid. Undeterred, Darkseid initiated his machinations, delving into the recesses of Mantis's mind to uncover the crucial information about the possessor of the anti-life. Darkseid further sent his minion Glorious Godfrey to initiate a brainwashed cult of humans who believed and followed anti-life. Meanwhile, Godfrey's Justifiers eliminated every threat to their cause. When the Infinity Man tried to stop the Justifiers, Darkseid intervened. With his Omega Beam, he broke the Infinity Man up into the Forever People and took them into his custody. Darkseid then decided to continue his wave of terror on Earth until he found the person whose mind had the power to comprehend the anti-life equation. Under the orders of Darkseid, Darkseid attempted the murder of a mother box, but that vanished and went to martial artist Sunny Sumo. Tethering to the mother box, Sunny was able to free the Forever People from Darkseid's control. Darkseid, suspecting that Sumo held the anti-life equation, planned to kill the Forever People and abduct Sumo.
Darkseid wins.
The Omega Effect. Darkseid revealed to Darkseid that Sumo was able to control everyone by using the anti-life, just because his mind was tethered to the mother box. Hearing this, an angry Darkseid unleashed his Omega Effect and initiated the Finder Beams, which sought out and dispersed all the Forever People, except for Seraphan. Through time, upon Highfather's call, his Alpha Bullet searched all the Forever People and united them from different eras in time. Reunited with Seraphan, who escaped the Justifier's grasp, they followed the guidance of the last Alpha Bullet to a monastery in Honshu. There, a priest entrusted them with the Mother Box received in a bygone era from Sunny Sumo. The never-ending quest. Darkseid had previously used his soldier, Devilance, to kill the Infinity Man after separating them from the Forever People. The dying energy from Infinity Man struck 6 human beings, in whose minds 6 parts of the anti-life equation got etched. Darkseid discovered from the cosmic computer that Infinity Man possessed the life equation as well as the anti-life, and was connected to the source. Orion and other new gods fought against Kalibak and other forces of Apokolips to hold off the individuals from falling into Darkseid's hands. However, Darkseid peered into the minds of all anti-life holders to create the antagonist, a being of anti-life, and sent him to wrought havoc on Earth. He then set forth on his quest to solve the mystery of the source with the anti-life equation. He wanted to learn the secrets of the universe and crush the cosmos. The final stand. Orion extracted the information of Darkseid's whereabouts and met him on a desolate asteroid at the final barrier, outside the Promethean galaxy, for a final confrontation. He tried to reason with his father to give up his quest, but he pushed Orion aside and went to destroy the source wall. Highfather tried to stop Darkseid, but Darkseid used his Omega Effect to wound him. However, in the process, Darkseid was weakened. Orion attacked Darkseid again using his Astro Force and repelled him. Darkseid tumbled back into the final barrier and changed into a Promethean giant, and his very being was decimated using a uni-cannon. Back from the dead. Darkseid was brought back from the dead at Armageddon, capital of Apokolips, by the members of Earth-2's Injustice Society. It was Darkseid's plan to transport Apokolips into the Earth-2 universe, where there'll be no one to challenge him, and he'd destroy the Earth-2 universe. The New Gods and the Justice League went to war with Darkseid and the forces of Apokolips. As soon as the recreation machine fired, Metron redirected the beams to hit Darkseid, and instead of the Imperial Palace, Darkseid was seemingly destroyed.
The threat is real.
A crisis on infinite Earths. However, as we're aware, Darkseid managed to survive. In the midst of the crisis on infinite Earths, Darkseid observed the unfolding chaos from the heart of Apokolips. As Superman and Superboy engaged in a fierce battle against the Anti-Monitor, Darkseid played a crucial role. Utilizing Alex's eyes, he unleashed a potent power blast at the Anti-Monitor, forcing him into the core of the Binary Suns. Darkseid aligned with the heroes in their fight, recognizing the threat to Apokolips if the Anti-Monitor were to prevail. to kill a legend. Following the culmination of the Crisis on Infinite Earths, the DC Universe underwent a reboot, consolidating all 52 Earths into one. Despite this fresh start, Darkseid continued his reign on Apokolips. Frustrated by the resilience of Earth's heroes, he devised a plan to tarnish their legendary reputations. Collaborating with Dr. Bedlam, Glorious Godfrey, and other minions, Darkseid initiated Operation Humiliation. Manipulating public opinion, he turned people against their beloved superheroes, resulting in riots and chaos. Although Darkseid attempted to teleport Superman to Armageddon, the Man of Steel proved uncontrollable. The Justice League, aided by Dr. Fate, thwarted Godfrey, exposed Darkseid's scheme, and rallied the people. Darkseid, acknowledging the unpredictability of human beings, conceded defeat but vowed a return. Breaking the Man of Steel. While Darkseid was putting Operation Humiliation in plan, he devised a plan to brainwash Superman and use him to do his evil bidding. He shot Omega tracker beams to extract Superman from Earth to the ruins of Armageddon on Apokolips. Superman fought the Hunger Dogs and freed the Amazing Grace from being executed by Darkseid shock troopers, and then defeated the Glommer in the fire pits. However, he lost his memory from the fall and was hailed as the savior who would liberate Apokolips from Darkseid. But the truth was something else. Darkseid had planted the Amazing Grace to give Superman hope and then break it. Grace hypnotized Superman into believing that he was Darkseid's son, but just then, Orion and Lightray arrived to save the day. Orion's mother box had worked its magic, restoring Superman's memory along with his original costume, unleashing a surge of emotions. Fueled by anger, Superman, now free from Darkseid's control, flew into a rage. Darkseid, who had been on the verge of punishing Grace for her failure, realized that his grip on Superman had slipped away. In response, Darkseid deployed his Omega beams, sending them throughout the city in pursuit of the enraged Superman. Superman, with his super speed, led the deadly beams back to Darkseid. Dodging and weaving, he manipulated their trajectory, causing them to strike the Mad Ruler. Darkseid, injured but relentless, retaliated by burning Superman with his Omega beams. Superman broke free from the searing onslaught and launched a fierce counterattack on Darkseid, delivering powerful blows. As a last-ditch effort, Darkseid opened a boom tube as Superman got ready for another attack and teleported him back to Earth. A piece of Diana's soul. Viewing other gods as a looming threat, Darkseid launched an invasion of the island of Themyscira with the intent of uncovering the hidden location of the Olympian gods. His sinister plan involved overthrowing the Olympians and usurping their divine power. Unwilling to support Darkseid's maniacal quest, the Amazons fiercely clashed with his Parademon's forces, resulting in the tragic loss of half of the Amazon population. Later, Wonder Woman revealed that she exacted revenge on Darkseid by embedding a portion of her own soul into him, when Raven had linked Wonder Woman and Darkseid. This ostensibly diminished Darkseid's godly power and robbed him of some of his malevolent essence. After this, Darkseid engaged in frequent altercations and tried to manipulate the lives of many heroes and villains to meet his own ends: Superman, Wonder Woman, Suicide Squad, Firestorm, Swamp Thing, and Warlord. But his plans fell short of realizing every time. But nobody knew that a cosmic odyssey lay ahead. Cosmic Odyssey. In an intergalactic crisis, Metron accidentally unleashed a sentient aspect of anti-life which planned to collapse the Milky Way galaxy. Darkseid was the first being to discover this. To counter the aspect, heroes were chosen to defend specific planets: Superman and Orion on Thanagar, Lightray and Starfire on Rann, Batman and Forager on Earth, and Martian Manhunter with Jon Stewart on Xanshi. Secretly, Batman contacted an unknown person to keep watch on Darkseid. As the teams tackled their missions, Xanshi was tragically destroyed due to Jon Stewart's overconfidence. On Rann, the heroes defeated the aspect but failed to capture it. On Thanagar, Superman captured the aspect, leading to conflict with Orion. Batman and Forager located their aspect in Moose Jaw, Arizona, engaging in a desperate battle. As tensions rose, Darkseid sought Etrigan the Demon's help to confront the anti-life being against Highfather's wishes. Dr. Fate arrived, offering assistance, and a unified front was formed against the anti-life being. Dr. Fate destroyed the dimension containing anti-life, preventing its true destruction. Back on Earth, Batman and Forager succeeded, but at the cost of Forager's life. The group reunited on New Genesis, where Darkseid expressed fury at Dr. Fate. Jon Stewart struggled with guilt over Xanshi's destruction, and the Martian Manhunter helped him overcome suicidal thoughts. Highfather instructed Orion to atone by escorting Forager's body back to the Insect Empire.
You beg louder than that when I'm done with you.
Bloodlines. Darkseid uncovered an Earthling harboring the coveted anti-life equation, successfully extracting and sealing it within a crystal. Sensing the fading energy of the anti-life crystal in Apokolips, Darkseid resolved to seek a new equation bearer. Urgently, Darkseid dispatched parademons to abduct Eve Donna, while Darkseid defended his citadel against Dreg's zombies. Betrayed by his son Calibac, Darkseid swiftly dealt a lethal touch that turned him to bones. Dispatching his minion Necromina to Earth, Darkseid aimed to raise an undead army to capture Orion, eliminating his scientists to conceal his people's true power. Yuga Khan, now a Promethean giant, broke free from cosmic shackles, subdued Darkseid, and seized control of Apokolips. Facing Orion, Darkseid revealed a dire choice. Orion must kill him to prevent Yuga Khan from annihilating the universe. In the mental arena of the Lump, Orion, conflicted by filial bonds, spared Darkseid. Yuga Khan's ultimate defeat against the Source Wall returned him to Promethean imprisonment. Hunter Prey. Doomsday, the Death Incarnate, the killer of Superman himself, attacked an Apokolipsian deep space freighter and landed on Apokolips. He tore through Darkseid's forces like paper. Darkseid refused to take any help from the Legion or Darkstars and faced off with Doomsday alone. Darkseid shot his Omega beams at Doomsday, which had practically no effect on him. He jumped into a physical combat with Doomsday, but he was heavily beaten into a bloody pulp. In his powerless awe, Darkseid presumed Doomsday to be beyond death, as the legends had said. Darkseid's wounds were fatal. When Superman arrived at Apokolips, Darkseid met him and instantly fainted. He would have succumbed to his wounds if Superman hadn't given up his mother box to fix Darkseid. Upon revival, Darkseid told Superman to get Cyborg Superman off Apokolips as he was causing havoc there. With the help of Superman, Darkseid obliterated Cyborg Superman with his Omega beams and put his life force inside a small sphere to use Cyborg whenever he needed. Then, he ordered Superman to leave Apokolips.
A ravaged wasteland, ruled by the demonic and omnipotent
Genesis, the God Wave, a cosmic force created by the source that spawned gods, demigods, and metahumans, was on the loose, traversing the universe. Earth's superheroes and the new gods came together to thwart Darkseid's plan to seize the God Wave's power, leading to an intense confrontation at the Source Wall. Darkseid revealed that the God Wave's journey through the Source would destroy the universe, motivating him to harness its power. Despite warnings from the Spectre, Darkseid pursued the Source. Another visitor, the antithesis of Uxas, aided Darkseid. The Source emitted a surge, intensifying turmoil. Expelled from the Source, heroes allied with Darkseid to counter Ares, who aimed to exploit the Source. Ares was defeated, the Source Wall reconstructed, but Darkseid became a permanent part of it, entwined with cosmic forces. Imperiex War. In the midst of the Imperiex War, Darkseid forged an alliance with Lex Luthor, who held the position of President of the United States at the time, as well as Brainiac 13 and a hesitant Justice League of America. Their common goal was to confront Imperiex Prime, a cosmic force that posed a threat to the entire universe. Despite facing betrayal from Brainiac 13 and his son Graven, the Coalition managed to achieve success by utilizing a temporal boom tube to send Imperix's consciousness and Brainiac 13's war world back to the Big Bang. Superman vs. Darkseid. During the Imperiex War, in a determined bid to rescue his friend John Henry from the clutches of Darkseid, Superman confronted him on an asteroid on Apokolips. Facing Darkseid, Superman proposed a wager, single combat to determine the fate of Steel. If Superman won, he'd take Steel and leave Apokolips, promising not to disclose Darkseid's defeat. If Darkseid triumphed, he'd claim Superman, Steel, the Entropy Aegis, and the power to reshape the universe. Darkseid, sensing deception from Superman, accepted the challenge and attacked aggressively. The intense battle saw both foes evenly matched, with Darkseid showcasing his unparalleled strength. Superman strategically evaded Darkseid's Omega beams and, using his super speed, guided the beams back to Darkseid, burning him. Darkseid gained the upper hand momentarily, threatening Superman with a boulder. Superman countered with his freeze breath, turning the tide. Darkseid attacked, denying to return Steel and claiming Steel was never meant for the entropic force. However, Superman revealed that Steel had harbored the entropic force, nurtured to amplify a more powerful entity. Superman eventually defeated Darkseid, beating his face with his increased strength with a torrent of blows so hard that Darkseid's face and eyes swelled up. He was unable to see anything, and he was rendered almost blind. Superman left, vowing secrecy about the battle's outcome, but warning against Darkseid's return to Earth. Back on Apokolips, a resistance movement adopted the S symbol, having learned of Darkseid's defeat. Look out for a new minion. When Superman's cousin, Kara Zor-El, arrived on Earth, Darkseid had his watchful eyes on her. Abducting her from Themyscira, where she was undergoing training with Wonder Woman, Darkseid subjected Kara to mind control, making her one of his aides on Apokolips. To rescue Kara, Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, and Big Barda ventured to Apokolips. Amidst battles against mind-controlled Kara, Granny's Furies, and a direct confrontation with Darkseid, Batman took a bold step. He demanded Darkseid release Kara from his control, threatening to activate bombs planted all over Apokolips's solar pits if Darkseid refused. Faced with this perilous choice, Darkseid reluctantly let go of Kara. The heroes returned with her to Earth, where Superman bestowed upon her the mantle of Supergirl. However, Darkseid's interference continued, seemingly leading to Supergirl's demise by his Omega beams. Overwhelmed, Superman engaged in a fierce battle with Darkseid and eventually trapped him within the Source Wall. Later revelations revealed that Supergirl's death had been staged by Superman. Freed from the Source Wall. To repay a debt to an alternate reality Darkseid and mend the timeline, Superman released Darkseid from the Source Wall where he was confined. Around the same time, the Joker gained powers similar to Mr. Mxyzptlk and attempted to control Darkseid. Surprisingly, it was revealed that Batmite had been inside the Joker all along, literally crawling out of his mouth. Unwilling to be manipulated, Darkseid withdrew from the confrontation. Despite trying to use his Omega beam to eliminate the Joker, he missed. Mr. Mxyzptlk disclosed that this event foreshadowed an impending crisis testing Superman and Batman. Intrigued by his role, Darkseid discovered his destiny was still unwritten. Later, it was revealed that Darkseid lost his Omega powers while imprisoned in the Source Wall. Using a mind-controlled Superman, Darkseid retrieved Highfather's staff from the Source Wall and employed it to recharge Darkseid's energies through a portal to the Omega realm. Death of the New Gods. As the countdown to Final Crisis unfolded, Darkseid adjusted his strategies with the grand ambition of establishing his multiversal dominion. Setting the stage on Apokolips, he meticulously formed a new legion of parademons, recognizing the need for a strong army to propel his schemes forward. During this time, he coldly witnessed the demise of his underlings in Deep Six, refraining from intervening, deeming their sacrifice inconsequential in the grand design of the future. Meanwhile, Infinity Man, in a quest to amalgamate both the life and anti-life aspects of the Source, started assassinating the New Gods. Darkseid saw this as an opportunity, as he knew that the death of the Fourth World was imminent. He strategically revived even those who had once tried to take him down, and shifted his forces into defensive positions. During a conversation with Metron, he hinted at having insider knowledge about the mysterious God Killer, keeping it close to his chest and relishing the rare moment of outsmarting Metron. Darkseid ensured the survival of Karate Kid, who carried the Morticoccus virus, for reasons unknown. Darkseid directed Darkseid to bring about the Great Disaster, and Granny Goodness to recruit new female Furies on Earth, posing as Athena. His grand plan hinted at the emergence of the Fifth World, possibly on Earth, using the Great Disaster and the fall of the New Gods to pave the way for this cosmic transformation. It was later revealed that the Source had gathered its life and anti-life counterparts, and it was behind the assassination of all gods. Finally, Darkseid, the last god standing, empowered himself with thousands of god souls and fought the Source alone. The Source conjured up an energy version of Orion's soul and attacked Darkseid, but Darkseid managed to escape, promising that the father-son feud will be taken up another time. Death of Darkseid. Darkseid attacked Jimmy Olsen on Earth to rip out the powers of the God Soul battery from him. Jimmy also turned into a scaled monster and faced him. As the two gigantic figures wrought their havoc over the city, Atom successfully extracted the God Soul battery from Jimmy's body and destroyed it. Darkseid reduced his size and attacked Atom, but suddenly a boom tube opened and Orion entered the battlefield. He's been chasing Darkseid since he fled from the Source. Both father and son beat each other to pulp. Darkseid even used his Omega beams and managed to subdue Orion, but Orion tapped into his berserker rage and beat Darkseid black and blue. When Darkseid pointed out that his death was prophesied in the fire pits of Armageddon, Orion countered that there was a fire pit right in Darkseid's heart. Saying this, he ripped out Darkseid's heart from his chest and killed him. Gods never die. Within the event horizon, Shiloh Norman, aka Mr. Miracle, encountered Metron from the New Gods. Metron revealed that after the war in heaven, the essence of the New Gods had found refuge in new bodies on Earth. Isaiah and others became homeless, while both Metron and Black Racer were confined to wheelchairs and senility. Granny Goodness, Darkseid's aide, masqueraded as a pimp, leading a group of sex workers comprising the female Furies. Darkseid took on the guise of a psychiatrist, and Dr. Bedlam portrayed an escape artist, akin to Mr. Miracle. Darkseid's essence also also traversed and inhabited a human body, now possessing the complete anti-life equation, enabling control through a mere whisper. Identifying himself as boss Darkseid, he gathered his former minions, the evil new gods, as followers on Earth. His desire was to acquire the last Mother Box, held by Shiloh. To achieve this, Darkseid seemingly banished Shiloh to the Omega Sanction and appeared to have killed him, but Shiloh managed to escape. And somewhere in the future, Darkseid fired a god-killer radiation bullet through time, reaching the past and fatally striking Orion. The bullet lodged itself in a wall after traversing several years backward, and Orion's demise triggered an unprecedented crisis, the greatest crisis this world would ever encounter, the final crisis. The attack on Earth. As the Radion bullet traversed the realms of time, it drew the attention of a Speed Force entity, which began to track its path. Meanwhile, Detective Dan Turpin stumbled upon Orion's lifeless body in Bloodhaven, initiating an investigation into the mysterious death. Simultaneously, Batman discovered the Radion bullet where it had engraved itself by traveling back in time and conducted thorough tests in search of clues, securing it in his utility belt. Amidst these events, Boss Darkseid strategically employed Earth's villains to tighten his grip on the planet. His disciple, Libra, rallied the villains under his command, orchestrating a dark agenda. Libra, holding Martian Manhunter captive, executed a gruesome act, impaling him and broadcasting the horrifying scene to manipulate villains into joining Darkseid's cause. Elsewhere, Granny Goodness seized control of Alpha Lantern Kraken's mind, framing Hal Jordan for a crime and orchestrating his removal. Darkseid, wielding the anti-life equation, also discovered that the Pied Piper possessed a vocal iteration of the equation. He commanded the villain Makari to release it online, ensnaring a majority of the global population under Darkseid's mind control. Batman, abducted by mind-controlled Alpha Lanterns, endured psychological torment at Darkseid's lair. Darkseid subjected him to a mind machine, unveiling Batman's deepest fears and pains, which fueled an army of parademons. Superman embarked on a quest beyond Earth in search of a life-saving elixir for Lois Lane, critically injured in a daily planet bombing. Mary Marvel fell prey to Darkseid's mind control, and Wonder Woman was infected by the Morticoccus virus, while heroes like Green Arrow and Black Lightning succumbed to the influence of the equation, joining the mind-controlled military force known as the Justifiers. Detective Dan Turpin, aided by Renee Montoya, aka Question, uncovered the location of the Darkseid Club. There, he encountered mind-controlled missing children who delivered the anti-life equation. Upon submission, Darkseid seized Turpin's body as his final vessel, standing before a world that had surrendered to him. With everyone under his control, Darkseid forged a singularity with himself at its core. His death would mean the collapse of all reality, paving the way for the emergence of the Fifth World in his image. The Last Stand. On New Earth, the entity tracking the Radion bullet through time turned out to be none other than Barry Allen, the Silver Age Flash. Lost in the aftermath of Crisis on Infinite Earths, Barry followed the bullet and Metron's chair as a guide, returning to the present where he encountered other Flashes, Jay Garrick and Wally West. Barry explained his time in the Speed Force, evading the Black Racer, the speedster of death who sought only the dying gods. Proposing a plan, Barry and Wally ran into the Speed Force to lure the Black Racer to the singularity in Darkseid's heart, allowing the Racer to claim Darkseid's soul. In the future, Superman battled Mandrak, acquired the elixir, and saved Lois Lane. Meeting Brainiac 5, Superman learned of the Miracle Machine's designs capable of granting any wish and altering reality. Alan Scott, formerly Green Lantern, initiated Article X, rallying unscathed heroes against Darkseid. Shiloh Norman, the new Mr. Miracle, united with others, using a symbol of freedom as an antidote against the anti-life equation. Mr. Terrific, OMAC and Checkmate joined forces, liberating mind-controlled heroes and reclaiming the Justice League Tower. Lex Luthor killed Libra and allied with Sivana to resist Darkseid. In Oa, Green Lantern's Guy Gardner and Kyle Rayner exposed Granny Goodness's control over Kraken. The Green Lantern Corps, including Hal Jordan, set out to Earth to confront Darkseid. Batman, breaking free from the Mind Machine, armed himself with a high-tech gun and the Radion bullet. Additionally, Nix Uwotan, a monitor stripped of memories and powers, was held captive by Darkseid's minions. Metron, bound in a wheelchair, revealed himself and, in a godlike move, solved a Rubik's Cube, unveiling it as a Mother Box. This act healed Nix Uwotan, restoring his powers, and he stood up in his monitor form and declared, "The judge of all evil is here." Final Crisis. After breaking out of Command D, Batman went directly to meet Darkseid. He made a solemn oath of never firing a gun, but this time he made an exception. He shot Darkseid in the heart with the Radion bullet. The bullet was poisonous to the new gods. It hurt Darkseid beyond repair and started spreading the rot and weakening his essence inside Dan Turpin's body. In return, Darkseid fired his Omega beams and sent Batman back in time. Darkseid dubbed this as the Omega Sanction. If Batman ever came back from the past to the present, he'll have so much Omega energy imbued with him that he'll become become an Omega bomb. If that bomb goes off, Batman will take out all reality with him. While Superman and other heroes were fighting to fend off Darkseid's forces, Darkseid came out and faced Superman. He taunted Superman, saying that everything belonged to him. He'd created the Singularity, where he resided in the mind of all beings, and he was taking reality crumbling down with him. Superman tried to fight Darkseid, but held off when he realized it was his friend Dan Turpin's body where Darkseid was residing. Darkseid had taken the Radion bullet out of his body and put it in a gun. This was the point in time where he shot the bullet to kill Orion. He lifted his gun and fired. Just then, like the first light of dawn, the Flashes appeared, with the Black Racer chasing them. The Flashes homed in on the moment of the bullet leaving Darkseid's gun. They ran and phased through Darkseid, and at that moment, the Black Racer stopped. He was facing Darkseid, a dying god poisoned by the Radion bullet. At that terminal point, the Racer took Darkseid's soul from Turpin's body and went his way. After being cured from the Mortococcus bacterium, Wonder Woman bound all the human beings with her lasso. Since she had her own soul placed in Darkseid before, she was able to connect to everyone who was under Darkseid's control. She used her powers to strip off every shred of mind control and anti-life from the humans. Nick Wotan summoned the GL Corps, Zoo Crew, and armies of heaven to eliminate Mandrake, the vampire monitor. But Darkseid's forces were still at large and reality was crumbling, and a little bit of his essence also hung onto this plane. Superman presented the blueprint of Miracle Machine to all the heroes and villains and gathered the greatest minds to create one. Once the machine was complete, the remaining essence of Darkseid appeared. It tried to meddle with Superman's thoughts to use the Miracle Machine to destroy reality. But Superman shouted a tune and destroyed the vibrations of the last remaining essence of Darkseid and finished him forever. He then used the machine to bring everything in existence back to normal. The Flashpoint reboots the DC Universe. In 2011, Barry Allen altered the timeline by saving his mother, creating the Flashpoint and reshaping the DC Universe. To rectify this, he ran back in time again, preventing the Flashpoint but triggering a complete reboot, the birth of the New 52. Heroes were younger, relationships were altered, and memories of the pre-Flashpoint era vanished. This reset introduced a new version of Darkseid to the revamped DC Universe. The New Origin. In the New 52 universe, rather than a prince, he was Uxas, a humble mud grubber dwelling among the old gods alongside his brother Isaiah and Isaiah's spouse. While Isaiah and his partner feared the old gods, Uxas nurtured a profound animosity toward them. Amidst the old gods' playful antics, mortals were treated as disposable beings, subject to their whims. Under cover of night, Uxas ascended the Forbidden Mountain, manipulating the slumbering deities into warring amongst themselves. As they perished in battle, Uxas, wielding a scythe, claimed their powers, transcending into Darkseid, a new god. In the conflict, as the Lord of Sky succumbed, he transferred his power to Isaiah, and he also emerged as a new god. Engaged in a fierce conflict, Darkseid and Isaiah's battle unleashed such overwhelming force that it shattered the realm of the new gods. Mirroring pre-New 52 events, this rupture birthed two fragments, New Genesis and Apokolips. With this divide, Darkseid commenced his reign of tyranny, seizing control and establishing his dominance over Apokolips. The First War. Darkseid, captivated by Superman across multiple worlds in the vast multiverse, became consumed by an obsession to invade and eliminate every version of the Man of Steel. His uncle Steppenwolf, acting on his command, attacked Earth 2, slaughtering the Justice League and turning their Superman malevolent. This relentless pursuit led Darkseid to Earth 1, where a new alliance of heroes confronted him for the first time. Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Cyborg, Flash, Aquaman, and Green Lantern Hal Jordan, despite their differences, united against Darkseid. In a historic battle, the heroes overcame the odds, banishing Darkseid back to Apokolips and marking him as the first villain that the League ever fought together. The Perfect Murder. Marina Black, an assassin from Amazon, was given the task to protect humanity by the old gods. Knowing that she'd never be able to defeat Darkseid, she chalked up a long-term plan. She had a girl child with Darkseid. She named her Grail. She trained her and brought her up with one sole agenda, to kill Darkseid. When Grail grew up, she hopped from one world to another, evading the forces of Darkseid and searching for an ally as powerful as him. She eventually found the Anti-Monitor. Anti-Monitor was a scientist named Mobius. He sat on his Mobius chair and gathered all the knowledge about the universe, much akin to the original Brainiac, but he was cursed with antimatter energy and was designated as a destroyer of the universe. He vowed that all the gods in the entire universe would die by his hands. He went from world to world and decimated everything with his antimatter energy. He was confronted by Metron, who pleaded with him to stop the madness, but to no effect. Meanwhile, Mr. Miracle uncovered Marina's plan to bring Darkseid to Earth, where he'd be killed by the equally powerful Marina Black. He fled when Marina attacked him in search of the League. Meanwhile, Darkseid had already planned to invade Earth once again and gathered his forces along with Steppenwolf, Darkseid, and Caliban. Attack of the Anti-Monitor. While Darkseid's minions Kanto and Lashina were on the hunt for Marina Black, Grail attacked the Justice League. She overpowered all of them. Then she grabbed Green Lantern Jessica Cruz and used her power ring from Earth 3 to summon the Anti-Monitor on Earth. Metron saved the Justice League by transporting them to the Rock of Eternity. He was reluctant to give answers, but Wonder Woman bound her with her lasso and pulled her out of the Mobius chair. While the chair was on the verge of booming out, Batman jumped and sat on it. The power of the Mobius chair channeled through him, and he became Batman, the god of knowledge. Superman and Luthor were boomed to Apokolips by Lena Luthor, who was working for Darkseid. Superman discovered that he'd lost his powers as there was no sun and that they were stuck on Apokolips. Having laid down all her plans perfectly, Grail conducted an Omega ritual with her blood, which was from the old gods as well as new ones, and summoned Darkseid to Earth. Darkseid then appeared with his armies on Earth. The Justice League, now teamed up with Mr. Miracle, boomed to the spot, and so started the Darkseid War. One death, too many. On Apokolips, Superman and Lex Luthor tried to fend off the attack of the Parademons. Luthor pointed out that the solar pits of Apokolips were powered by the sun. Superman dived into the solar pits but was instead recharged with negative solar energy. He turned into a god, the god of strength. Batman, the god of knowledge, and Hal Jordan went to the planet Quord, the birthplace of the Anti-Monitor. In Quord, they discovered that Quord was the center of the universe, and inside the core of the planet resided the anti-life equation that actually transformed the scientist Mobius into Anti-Monitor. Meanwhile, on Earth, the God War between Anti-Monitor and Darkseid was creating havoc. In his desperation, Darkseid summoned the Black Racer to fight on his side, but Anti-Monitor merged the Black Racer with Flash, creating a god of death. Anti-Monitor fired an anti-life blast at Darkseid, and Flash phased through him, delivering the final blow, and Darkseid died. Hal Jordan was bestowed with the power of will to save Oa from Darkseid's parademons, and he became the god of light. Shazam was called by the wizards and was bestowed with the power of all gods, and he became the god of gods. And Lex Luthor took the power of Omega energy and became the new god of Apokolips. Becoming the anti-god, Mobius separated from the anti-life equation. Grail takes control of the equation and becomes the goddess of anti-life, and an entire new lineup of gods was born. The end of Anti-Monitor. With Mobius, Grail and Marina still on the loose, the Justice League joined forces with the Crime Syndicate to confront them. A full-scale war unfolded, with Mobius wielding antimatter energy and commanding his shadow demons. The Green Lantern Corps also entered the fray. Luthor is transported from Apokolips to Earth, unleashing a horde of parademons to combat Mobius. Meanwhile, Grail performed a ritual to infuse Steve Trevor with the anti-life equation. Empowered with a new anti-life host, she and Marina teleported to the battleground. Steve confronted Mobius, unleashing anti-life energy to eliminate him permanently. However, under Grail's control, he turned against Diana and the Justice League. Born again, Superwoman from the Crime Syndicate was already expecting the child of Mazas, the Shazam from Earth 3. Amidst the intense battle, she went into labor and delivered a baby boy. Grail screamed the magical chant, Mazas, and seized the godly powers from both the Justice League and Luthor, channeling them into the newborn. She separated the Black Racer from Flash, commanding him to eliminate Flash. When Grail reclaimed the anti-life from Trevor and bestowed it upon the baby, he transformed into Darkseid again, entirely under Grail's control. Darkseid and Grail launched an assault on the Justice League. Their combined might rendering them nearly invincible. Diana persuaded Marina to assist the League in halting the chaos. Using their lasso, Diana and Marina bound Grail. Just as Marina was about to kill Grail, an Omega beam was shut. It injured Marina, but also struck Darkseid in the process. The anti-life separated from Darkseid, reverting him to a baby. Marina perished. Jessica Cruz rescued Flash, earning a place in the Green Lantern Corps. However, Grail managed to escape with baby Darkseid. Back to being a god. In the Dark Knight's Metal Saga, Batman kidnapped baby Darkseid in an attempt to transport himself to the past, but eventually returned the child. Grail and Uxas persisted in their mission to eliminate and absorb the powers of the old gods. They successfully hunted down and killed Zeus's demigod offspring, Perseus and Hercules. With their powers, Uxas transformed into a toddler. Engaging in a battle with Wonder Woman, he aged further, reaching the size of a young man. Subsequently, he confronted Zeus himself, absorbing his powers and causing his demise. With an immense surge of power, Darkseid returned to his original form. Departing with Grail, he hinted at even greater plans ahead. The Odyssey. As numerous alien planets, once captive under Brainiac's rule, found liberation, they embarked on a journey into the mysterious expanse known as the Ghost Sector. Fueled by a recollection of his father's prophecy and spurred by the rift in the source wall, Darkseid cunningly drew Cyborg, Starfire, and Azrael into the Ghost Sector, aiming to exploit their abilities for the conquest of the multiverse. Successfully ensnaring the team, Darkseid disclosed to Cyborg the existence of a bond formed when Cyborg merged with Darkseid's mother box. According to the prophetic tale, these alien worlds were concealed due to the reverence bestowed upon the old gods they worship. the greed for more power. Darkseid and Grail went into the Amazon jungle with a scheme to open up the portal to Themyscira. His agenda? To kill all the gods and absorb their powers. Wonder Woman, her brother Jason, with Steve Trevor and his army, tried to stop him, but Darkseid was finally able to open up the portal. While Grail attacked Themyscira with the Parademon army, Wonder Woman held Darkseid off at the door. While Grail and her army were defeated by Queen Hippolyta and Jason, Wonder Woman connected to the lover in her heart. With that love, she summoned everyone in her bloodline, including Zeus's soul. Zeus extracted all the Omega energy out of Darkseid and seemingly killed him. While the Amazonians reveled in their victory, somewhere on Earth 1, Darkseid was still alive and was searching for his true origin. The world of death metal. Reshaping the multiverse, Perpetua had crafted 3 crisis worlds to generate crisis energy for her sustenance. In one of these worlds, Darkseid triumphed in the final crisis, reigning over reality for centuries. Superman ventured into this crisis world to thwart Darkseid, but the villain's might proved overwhelming. Darkseid wielded the anti-life equation and tried to enslave Superman. Meanwhile, Batman faced the Anti-Monitor in an alternate crisis on Infinite Earths. Wonder Woman persuaded Superboy Prime to abandon his alternate Infinite Crisis, leading to the destruction of the last 52 and Crisis worlds. Darkseid and the transformed infant Anti-Monitor survived the destruction and sought refuge in the World Forge. Wonder Woman arrived at the Forge, intending to construct a machine designed by Lex Luthor to undo Perpetua's damage. Darkseid observed as she melted the lasso of truth in the Forge, evolving into a godlike being nearly as potent as the Darkest Knight. After the Darkest Knight's defeat and the restoration of the multiverse, Darkseid remained as the sole unaccounted cosmic threat. He was captured by the Quintessence and imprisoned on Earth Omega. Primeval. During the Infinite Frontier era, amid the DC Multiverse's expansion into an omniverse, Darkseid found himself imprisoned on Earth Omega. Merging with his myriad selves scattered across the multiverse, who he deemed as inferior iterations of himself, he emerged as the ultimate Prime Darkseid. There was no alternate existence of him elsewhere. This power was a part of the Great Darkness, whose secret was yet to be revealed. Using this power, Darkseid butchered all the members of the Quintessence and set forward on his quest to learn the truth about the Great Darkness. Good causes, bad choices. Thanks to the death metal reboot of the DC Omniverse, everyone in existence held the entire memory of what the DC Universe was and how and when it was rebooted, including Darkseid. He remembered how his incarnation before had tried to control the Great Darkness in order to save the ever-expanding multiverse. So he chalked out a plan of his own. Not letting go of his previous mission, he recruited the machine head of the Justice Incarnate team, DEO from Earth O, Lex Luthor of Earth 23, and Psycho Pirate. He let a resurrected Roy Harper wield a Black Lantern ring from a different Earth. With Psycho Pirate's help, he captured Barry Allen and used him to generate enough Speed Force to widen the multiversal cracks which were a remnant of the Flashpoint. The DEO was tasked to capture everyone on Earth Zero who was connected to other universes or timelines. His plan was to absorb the energies of all the multiversal anomalies and use Roy Harper as his Omega Lantern to open the multiversal crack to get his hand on the Great Darkness and control it. However, his plan failed when the Justice Incarnate attacked him on Earth Omega, and in the chaos, Barry Allen fell through the multiversal crack and was lost. Darkseid, the DC Comics editor. A contest ensued between Darkseid and his forces and the Justice Incarnate. Equipped with a grandfather box, Darkseid wanted the multiversal crack to control the Great Darkness, while the heroes wanted to save Barry Allen. A war unfolded on Earth 8, where Darkseid fought Asmodel and Shida to obtain the crack, while the Justice Incarnate joined the fray. But just then, a Batwoman who laughs from Earth 11 got hold of the crack. To stop her, Dr. Multiverse used her powers to disperse everyone through the multiverse. Darkseid was sent to Earth 33, along with President Superman and Dr. Multiverse. He started there for 3 months and pretended to be a DC Comics editor, Ulrich Saxman. He helped President Superman and Dr. Multiverse to publish a comic book to penetrate the fictative layer surrounding Earth 33 to make contact with Avery and Thomas Wayne. However, Avery and Thomas broke through the layer and contacted them first. Focusing on Avery's vibrations, all of them landed on Earth 41 where the crack had appeared. In the chaos that erupted, Dr. Multiverse absorbed the crack and revealed the truth about the Great Darkness. The Great Darkness. The Great Darkness was all that existed in the beginning, followed by an anomaly that was the Big Bang, which gave birth to the multiverse. Since then, the Great Darkness had caused multiple crises to wipe away all light and make nothing to be everything. And all that stood between the Great Darkness and the annihilation of all light was Darkseid. Darkseid brought his forces to Earth Omega and obliterated Thomas Wayne, who was consumed by the Great Darkness. He got hold of the crack and traveled to Earth 7 to confront Gentry's leader, the Empty Hand. The revelation: Darkseid was no match for the Empty Hand. The Empty Hand beat Darkseid and took the crack from him and used it to open a portal into the Great Darkness and lure Darkseid in. Once Darkseid entered the darkness, it was revealed that Darkseid was its part all along, a puppet who had been played over time, over reboots and reincarnations. Darkseid had unknowingly been doing its bidding always. While the Justice Incarnate saved Barry from his version of the Dream Universe, Darkseid became one with the Great Darkness. The Great Darkness started spreading, and Pariah appeared, driven by it to destroy everything in existence. And so started the Dark Crisis. Death of the Justice League. The multiverse faced an invasion by the forces of darkness, prompting the collaboration of Justice League Incarnate and the Justice League of Earth-Zero. Tracking the invasion's origin to the ruins of the pre-crisis multiverse, the teams were transported to Multiverse 2 by Dr. Multiverse. There, they discovered Pariah adapting his antimatter chamber to facilitate the entry of darkness into reality. Despite their attempts to reason with Pariah, he remained defiant, summoning Darkseid and other possessed villains into the fray. In the end, Pariah was able to obliterate the Justice League and kill all the heroes. Dark Crisis. Controlled by the Great Darkness, Pariah's agenda was to destroy the infinite multiverse with the crisis energy of the heroes from Earth-Zero. He deployed Darkseid and his Dark Army and attacked the Hall of Justice, while the Titans and other heroes held the fort. A great war ensued between the heroes of Earth and the Dark Army. Darkseid was an unstoppable force in the chaos. He tore Frankenstein in half. But just then, the immovable power stood in his way: John Kent. They fought bare-knuckled. Darkseid subdued John with his Omega Beam and started overpowering him in the fight. But John held off Darkseid, Dark Zeus, and Dark Doomsday on his own. Right then, Superman and the original Justice League came back to help. Although the heroes successfully banished Pariah to a pocket universe, Darkseid and the others were still under the sway of the corrupted darkness, which had now transferred to Deathstroke. Black Adam, employing his lightning once again, cleansed Deathstroke of the darkness, liberating Darkseid and the other previously possessed villains. Darkseid then retreated to Apokolips, seemingly undergoing split into his multiversal aspects. Aftermath of the crisis. In yet another attempt to conquer Earth, Darkseid deployed agents on the planet, with his chief engineer and genetic expert assuming the guise of the human scientist Dr. McHarrison. Their mission was to harness the essence of cities and transform the entire planet into a city-wide version of Darkseid's hellish domain, a new Apokolips. Ugly Manhelm promptly informed his malevolent master when the project subject came into view, as a surge of power occurred in a rival gang's territory. Darkseid ordered Bruno to swiftly retrieve the valuable asset for the grand plan, instructing him not to report again until after Intergang successfully executed the operation. Status quo. Darkseid recently appeared through a boom tube when the Justice League of Earth-Zero and Earth-22 were fighting Gog. Seeing Darkseid, the entire League attacked him. However, he tore through the League without even flinching. He made all the heroes beat the dust. The future at stake. In the 30th century, Darkseid emerged in an epic conflict titled the Great Darkness Saga, pitting him against a legion of superheroes. Operating as an enigmatic and shrouded presence in the future timeline of the main DCU, Darkseid orchestrated events from behind the scenes, aided by his minions who reverently called him the Master. Exerting control over the Great Darkness, Darkseid wielded his immense powers to subjugate the entire population of 3 billion Daxamites. He empowered them to launch an assault on Earth, intending to reshape the planet in his own image. While engaging in battles against the Legionnaires and Supergirl, he eventually released his grip on the Daxamites, realizing the challenge posed by such a large number of super-powered adversaries. Faced with no other option, Darkseid begrudgingly retreated, leaving the Legionnaires with the ominous Curse of Darkness before making his exit from the conflict. Marvelous verdict. That concludes Darkseid's story so far, my parademons. Our connection with him walks a fine line, neither able to sever ties nor fully depend on him. When he breathes, his ambition reaches for dominion over the very fabric of reality. However, if his existence wanes, the threat of dragging all of existence into oblivion looms. He remains an enigmatic obsidian figure within the family, impossible to dismiss. Periodically, he unveils schemes that aim to dismantle all we've painstakingly constructed. Remember, Darkseid's story doesn't conclude here. As long as the multiverse exists, he'll persistently strive to control it using the anti-life equation, unless stopped, killed, or, well, rebooted. We'll continue sharing his stories in future videos as they unfold in the comic books. Share your thoughts in the comment section, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content like this. Until the next invasion, for Darkseid.